Good morning, everyone. Jim Clarke here at the Synchronicity Sanctuary in Central Virginia to share another contemplative focus with you, a focus that I have found very powerful and useful in my journey. So, the focus I want to share with you today is as vast as the universe is, a much greater universe lies within. The presence of absence is the gateway to self-realization. As our investment in conceptual beliefs gives way to the truthful experience of who we are, the eternal being that everything is emerges. So, so in other words, there's so much more to life than what our mind can ever grasp, much less understand. And what this is pointing to is the presence of absence. So what is the presence of absence? In my experience over the many years here meditating and living the holistic lifestyle at Synchronicity, the presence of absence was a slow emergence of an energetic experience that became more and more constant. And with that experience comes a perception and an intelligence and an understanding that goes beyond the mind. It's not something that you can just verbalize and yield any kind of an understanding. It's something that you develop through practice and focus and intention. So as I was beginning my meditation here about 30 years ago, I didn't have that experience. I was still developing enough balance in myself to be able to yield that experience and open up to it. And simply what that means is that as we come into this form, the human form, by default, the negative polarity, the polarity of creation, the polarity of contraction that allows us to have and maintain a physical form is dominant in our experience. It's only from something that you practice, it's only from an intention that you somehow realize that you can start applying yourself to the development of the positive polarity, which is the expansive polarity, the polarity of being as opposed to the polarity of becoming. So as our investment in the conceptual beliefs that we have acquired in our life up to that point in our life have been developed, and we sort of go by those as what is real and what is not real, and that is our map of life and how we go through life, which implies that we we have the experience of life as a separate individual human being surrounded by others. The experience of separation, which is a fear-based experience, because if you're alone and you're surrounded by others, well, naturally your instincts to survive are always key. They're always in the forefront because you're competing with all those others. That's what it appears like when you don't have the balance to experience yourself as more than that. The universe within, which is really tapping into the source of all creation. And that is not an awareness of something that has happened. That is an awareness of a process that is always happening. Creation is always happening newly in every single moment of our existence. And our ability to flow with that as it changes and evolves itself depends greatly on our own state of balance, our state of awareness. And to have that awareness and to be able to see it as you, as part of your own life experience, and to be able to embrace everything in your life and flow with it. To be able to do that, you have to have that experience yourself, within yourself, and it has to be a constant in your life. And the only way I know of, the way that I have finally brought myself to that point, is simply by meditating, living a lifestyle that supports the process of meditation, and understanding the mechanics that are involved with our own evolution. How we get there, how we stay there. And that was a journey that took many years, but it's an investment that I have found to yield greater benefits than anything else I've ever put my life into through the years. And it comes about when you're ready for it. It comes about when you're ready for a teacher to appear in your world. And that teacher could take any form. It could be a man, it could be a woman, it could be an experience. It could just be an awakening. And from there you just move on to different kinds of teachers and different kinds of experiences that validate to you that you are more than the eye meets. So in the beginning of my experience, I had awakening experience which took me to very, very subtle levels of my own existence, where there was no ego, where there was no other. And then it brought me back into my ego, and there I was. Where did I go from here? And that is the journey, how my journey began, and it was full of questions, of course, because one minute I was a body and a mind and all my beliefs and so forth that I had acquired in my life, and the next moment I had just come back from being nothing to being absolutely nothing, which was a expansive experience beyond the possibility of ever describing. I was very, very blissed out. So I knew that that was what I wanted. This is that experience, It's so delighting and so life positive that you want that experience, because you get a taste of the truth of who you are, and that's what you really want. So you start meditating and you start yoga practices and so forth to help to build up the balance that you need to sustain that kind of experience, because it's very, very powerful. And in that journey, little by little, you come across things that help to point the way to that. But the bottom line is that meditation, daily meditation, and putting a focus on your health and well-being, avoiding things that will be toxic to your system and limit your ability to experience such powerful things. That's really what it's all about. And the way to get there is just to stay on track with that practice, however it may be. I had experienced many different forms of meditation before I ended up here at Synchronicity, as I was trying out this method and that method to see what might work the most. Some were very powerful, some didn't seem to yield much of a result at all, but they all contributed to the state of being that I experience today, simply because they were forms of meditation. They took my focus away from the external to the internal, away from the negative to the positive. And that's really it. And the amount of time that you devote to such practice and such way of living is going to determine how soon you begin to develop the presence of absence, which is simply the presence of the positive polarity that you are, being over becoming. And it doesn't eradicate becoming, it doesn't do away with the ego. There's nothing in life that is an obstacle in truth to your own self-realization. Without the ego, you couldn't have self-realization. You have to begin from the negative polarity. You have to begin from illusion in order to journey to the truth. This is the whole purpose of having a context of experience that was created by consciousness so that it could fully be itself, so it could fully experience itself. Because if there's no polarity, how do you experience anything? That's one of the mysteries of life. And the experience that we have within our lives as human beings, within the polarities, is that we constantly try to do away with the negative and embrace the positive, or vice versa. But these attempts to be good, to be perfect, and to be worthy of such realization always fall short in and of themselves, simply because The polarities are what they are. The negative and the positive must coexist always. Otherwise, you're no longer within manifest reality. And that doesn't mean you're over by any means, because you can't die, really. You can't stop living, because life is eternal. And to know this and to have the experience of it and to have that while you're still living as a human being simply requires a focus that directs you to that experience and to substantiate that experience within yourself. And there's many people who are doing that today, and many people I've seen at Synchronicity that have evolved themselves to that point, and nobody that I know of regrets the time and effort that they put into their practice to get to that point in their life. It's an investment that takes you beyond conceptual beliefs. It takes you to the presence of absence, which is simply the experience of the simultaneous experience of the positive and negative polarities. But the positive polarity, the polarity of being, is also the polarity that is the closest to the absolute, what is called the absolute, because when creation happened, it came out of being. The negative polarity was born out of the positive polarity. So when the positive polarity comes into your experience, as it is in me in this moment, it has more power. It has more power than the negative. The mind cannot comprehend that. The mind cannot experience the positive polarity, because that's not what the mind was made for. The mind was made for the journey as a human being within the negative polarity experience, within the fear-based experience of being a human being. Now, you can develop the mind, and some people have very powerful minds, and for them that is one of the ways that they bring themselves to a self-realization, along with a form of meditation that is simply focused on the mind a lot. So other methods focus more on the body. Other methods focus more on the emotions and the feelings. But either way, the gateway has to open, and the gateway to open that gateway, you have to develop the balance so that you can open up your heart, you can open up your willingness and your self to the possibility that you are much more than you ever dreamed of being. So meditation, daily meditation, a holistic lifestyle, those are the key elements for all self-realization that I know of. And it can look like it's kind of a dull, maybe a restrictive way to live in the beginning. I know I had that experience myself, that you limit your food because you want to have mostly just healthy food, and you limit your activities to the internal. You stay away from constant distraction. You're not spending all your time focused on the external, the universe outside yourself, the world that exists outside yourself, which is simply a reflection to you of where you are. But the universe that is you see outside is being created from being. It's being created through you. Whatever you see outside yourself is really just a reflection of yourself. As my teacher used to say, we are here to learn how to love. And the reason he said that was because as you develop the ability to experience and the truth of who you are, what you realize is that literally everything in the world is you. We are all individual expressions of the same consciousness, so there is no thing in existence that is something foreign to you. And that is contrary to what we are taught and how we experience life when we are still trapped within the illusion of separation. We are an individual who's struggling to be this or that. We're individuals who are victims of circumstances or other people, and on and on and on the story keeps going. But the truth is, we're experiencing what we create, and we create what we do simply to bring ourselves to the truth of who we are, no matter what that may look like. So whatever your experience is, it's totally appropriate for you because that's what you're here for. And whatever that might be, if you embrace meditation to open up the gateway to more understanding and experiencing that truth, then and only then will you actually begin to embrace your life in a way that is empowering, that is positive, and one that allows you to enjoy life, because whoever you meet, whatever circumstances you find yourself in, there's no threat, because there's no you in terms of ego that's there to be endangered, really. The ego is a passing event. So that's life comes and life goes as ego, but life is eternal in its truth, and we are all that truth. So really, it's just an exploration to discover yourself, and that exploration is a way to bring yourself to the presence of absence, which is the core essence of who you really are. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. It was a contemplative focus that I practiced in different ways throughout many, many years here, and it has yielded the results that it speaks or points to. So I hope that this has helped to stimulate you in some way to dedicate yourself to meditation, and to encourage you to do the same kind of thing for yourself, to explore who you are and never give up, okay? So that's what I wanted to share with you this Monday morning, and I'll be back again next Monday to share another contemplative focus with you. Thank you.